Welcome to my video on solving inequalities by adding or subtracting. As the title suggests, we are going to be working with inequalities in this video, and we are going to be trying to solve them, and all we're going to have to use is addition or subtraction. So this is going to be very similar to my solving equations by adding or subtracting video, and in essence, the whole process is exactly the same. So if you are very good at solving equations by adding or subtracting, you should be just as good at solving inequalities by adding or subtracting. With that said, let's get into our examples and see how we solve them. Here we have the example x plus 9 is less than 15. We are trying to solve for x to figure out what interval x has to be on to make this a true inequality. We want to figure out what values of x will, whenever we substitute them in, will make this true. And this works just like our equations. If we remember back to a video I made on solving equations, it would be x plus 9 equals 15. And the way we would solve this is by using inverse operations. So since I am adding 9, I have to do the opposite, which is subtracting 9 from both sides. This keeps the equation balanced and it isolates our variable. So plus 9 minus 9 becomes 0 and we're left with x, and 15 minus 9 gives me 6. So when we were doing an equation with an equal sign, we solved it this way, and we got our answer as x equals 6. Well, in inequality, you are going to solve it the exact same way. There is only going to be one difference at the end, and we'll take a look at that when we get there. So let me get this out of the way. And now, I have x plus 9 is less than 15. And I need to isolate my variable. I need to get rid of the constant, and since I am adding 9, I have to do the opposite. I have to take 9 away. So I get plus 9 minus 9, which becomes 0, and that gives me just x. I get 15 minus 9, which is 6, and I keep the less than sign. So my answer is x is less than 6. And this is different than our equation because before x equaled 6 and that was our answer. Now x is less than 6, so x can be anything that is smaller than 6. And if we are asked to graph it, we can graph the same way I showed you in my previous video on graphing and writing inequalities, where we create our number line. We take our concrete number, our constant over here, put it in the middle, add a couple tick marks to the right, add a couple tick marks to the left. So we got 7 and 8, 5 and 4. And then, since I am using less than, that means I cannot be exactly 6, so I'm going to have a open circle at 6, and the tail of my inequality points to the left, so my inequality is going to go to the left. And there I have solved this inequality, and I have graphed the solution. And that's really all there is to it. We're going to do 2 more examples, but hopefully you see the similarities between solving inequalities and solving equations, and you get it. So with that said, let's try another. Here we have the inequality negative 5 plus x is greater than or equal to 2. So we still want to get our variable isolated. We want it to be the only thing on its side. So I need to get rid of this negative 5. Now remember, we want to make this 0 so that it is gotten rid of. And if I have negative 5, what am I going to have to do to make it 0? That's right, I'm going to have to add 5. So since this was negative, I have to do the opposite. Negative implies subtraction, so I have to use addition. So I'm going to add 5 to negative 5, and to keep my inequality balanced, I'm going to add 5 to the other side as well. Negative 5 plus 5 gives me 0, and I'm left with x. My x is isolated, and x is going to be greater than or equal to 2 plus 5, which is 7. Now if we want to graph this inequality, we draw our number line, put our concrete number in the middle, so there we have 7. Couple tick marks to the left, or sorry, the right, so 8 and 9. Couple tick marks to the left, so 6 and 5. And now we take a look at our symbol. I have greater than or equal to, which means that we can be 7 or we can be bigger. So since we can include 7, I have to put a closed circle at 7. The tail of my inequality is pointing to the right, so my arrow goes to the right as well. And now I have graphed this inequality. Now let's try one more example to wrap up this video. Hopefully you're seeing that this is very similar to solving equations, and you're getting the hang of it. Alright, one more. Here we have our final example of 8 plus x is less than 7. In the previous examples, we wanted to get our variable alone, and that is still the case here, so I want to make x the only thing on my left side. We need to get rid of 8. So ask yourself, since 8 is over here and there's no sign in front of it, does that mean the 8 is positive or is the 8 negative? Hopefully you said 8 is positive. And it's not because we have the addition sign here, it's because there's nothing in front of the 8 to make us think that it would be negative. So if I have, let's say, $8, and I want to get rid of that for some reason, well, I would need to take away those $8. So since this is a positive 8, I will subtract 8 to make it 0. And if I subtract 8 from the left side, I have to subtract 8 from the right side. 8 minus 8 gives me 0, and I'm left with x is less than 7 minus 8, which is negative 1. Now that we have our solution here, x being less than negative 1, we can do our final step by graphing the solution. So just like we've done in the past two examples, draw our number line, put our number in the middle, couple tick marks to the right, couple tick marks to the left, and then look at our symbol. It is less than. It is not less than or equal to, so I have an open circle at negative 1, and my tail is pointing to the left. So I want to go to the left on my number line. And that's really all there is to it with solving inequalities by adding or subtracting. It's all about getting your variable alone, doing the inverse operation to whatever your constant is, whether it is positive or negative, so we can get a solution to our inequality, and then interpreting that solution into a graph to show what our solution really means. Hopefully you found this video helpful, and good luck solving your inequalities with addition or subtraction.